Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn featuring AvidPay for Construction. Today's subject matter expert is Michelle Retzbach, Senior Solutions Consultant for AvidXchange. You should have all received your Grubhub vouchers. If you did not, please reach out to me for assistance, and I'll be happy to help you. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone is muted for a clean listening experience. So if you do have questions, please type them into the questions box and we will be happy to address them at the end of the session. The webinar is being recorded and we will email out a copy to everyone later today. I will now turn it over to you, Michelle.
Perfect, thank you. I think we have a poll question to kick things off. You should see it on your screen now, but we just kind of want to know, since this is a lunch and learn session today, did you cash in and eat your Grubhub lunch today? So I think those options are yes, doing that now, or saving it for dinner. So take a second there. All right. And like Krista said, my name is Michelle Retzbach. I'll be running us through the session today, just so you can put a face with a name. I've been at AvidXchange since 2016, and most of my focus is on the construction and real estate verticals, helping companies really streamline their accounts payable and create efficiencies in their process, which is a lot of what we'll be talking about today. So just a quick agenda, but it has a lot packed in there throughout. So we are going to just talk about generally the changes happening in accounts payable today. As we know, there's been a big shift over the past, 9 to 12 months with accounts payable, and we're going to look at some of those overall changes. We're also going to take a look inside the AvidPay tool and talk about the AvidPay network and what that means, as well as a sneak peek at what customer onboarding and implementation would look like for the AvidPay tool. And then we'll save some Q&A for the end. All right, so let's kind of start off with those changes in AP. Now, 70% of all business-to-business payments are still made by check today, and that's actually upwards of 80% for small and medium businesses, which to a lot of people is surprising. But with a solution like AvidPay or an automated AP tool, you can actually automate that process and more than triple the amount of checks that your company is processing without adding additional headcount. So that's really valuable as we, have to streamline this process. And, every day in my position, pretty much, I hear that AP departments are being tasked with doing more with less. And so, that statement really hits home for a lot of the customers that I'm working with on a daily basis. And then you'll also see administrative costs are mounting. They're over $2.1 billion annually. So about 4 hours is the calculated average amount of time an AP person spends performing really manual tasks each day. And with an automation tool like AvidPay, it allows for your AP staff to focus on other aspects. So not those manual mundane tasks, but more strategic tasks, handling exceptions, discrepancies, analyzing data, even negotiating vendor contracts, those more strategic activities and planning for the future of the business. And then lastly, business-to-business commerce is really going digital. It is shifting and the paper is really being left behind. So, if you think about it, paper checks have always kind of been in place and been the way to pay our subs and vendors because it was the only way. But now with these cloud-based solutions and them becoming more popular, because of their cost effectiveness and scalability, everything is kind of making that shift towards more of a digital path. And, one other thing that I hear a lot around kind of that shift to making everything digital is concerns being raised about fraud, financial fraud and security. And, I hear all the time from AP staff, it's a lot of the times #1 on their radar. But with our solutions, the liability actually shifts over to AvidXchange 100%, and we help manage all of your vendor data and payment preferences. And so from the point you send us that check run file, we kind of take on that liability. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the tool. So I think it's important just to call out that, every industry is being affected with these changes. It's not, small, large, construction, healthcare. We're seeing it across the board that really these top performing enterprises have taken their accounts payable operations really to that next level by, leveraging technology to streamline their AP process. Everyone's kind of looking for that efficiency, ways to cut down on time-sucking tasks and enable more strategic activities to be carried out like we talked about previously. And so it really is every industry that we're coming into contact with in our business. So AvidXchange partners really with the best software companies out there, in addition to resellers in specifically the construction industry. So, our partnership with Accordant, is really strong, and we want to just point out that not only do we have a partnership with them, but several other partnerships and integrations throughout the industry. And today we have over 150 different accounting system integrations. So, being able to integrate into different ERPs and through resellers and partners has been a really valuable thing in our business because we're able to leverage different relationships across the board and really, take their expertise and leverage that in our business. So let's talk a little bit specifically about AvidPay, the tool, and AvidPay Network. So AvidPay is the tool that's used to automate the payment process. This is the actual software, SaaS-based platform where you are removing that printing of paper checks, stuffing envelopes, and the tool is automating that process for you. It's a full service offering that includes the software and then also a services aspect. So within the software, you're going to get full visibility into all your payments, payment status, and additional information such as proof of payment. And then with the services piece, the services component, that's going to be really the piece that helps reduce manual tasks that take up that time of your accounting staff. So that network that we've built today is over 600,000 vendors and suppliers that we're paying. These are vendors and subs that are already enrolled in our network. They're being paid by AvidXchange in one of our 3 preferred payment methods, and they know who we are. So chances are if you were to reach out to us for a full demonstration and inquiring about AP automation, we would be able to do a vendor match and kind of let you know how many of your vendors are already in our network. And chances are, probably 15 to 20% of them are already being paid by AvidXchange in one of those 3 payment methods. Now, the 3 different methods that we are offering to suppliers are a virtual card, an ACH or direct deposit. That's actually an enhanced direct deposit because of some additional AR support and rich remittance detail that we provide along with that, as well as a paper check. As much as we love those, electronic payments and we want vendors to take those, we understand that, checks really aren't going anywhere at this point in time. So of course we offer a paper check option as well. Vendors, it's completely up to them how they want to be paid. We're not dictating that. We're sharing the options and letting them pick which works best for them. And I think they really love the fact that there's kind of something for everyone. Again, everyone's being affected. No business is too big or too small. And so kind of having a different option for different types of businesses is really one of our benefits to the suppliers. And then along with that, since we do have that services team working directly with them, they're able to kind of educate them on the payment methods and see what would work best for their business model. And so with that, we have one of the highest adoption rates in the US today with our payment network. So let's talk about the integration a little bit before we get into the portal. So we do leverage Create-A-Check to get the payment information out of the accounting system. So whether that's a Sage product, Acumatica, QuickBooks, whatever it may be, we use Create-A-Check to really make for a seamless integration experience when making those payments. So the great thing here is you and your staff will still have full control over selecting which payments you want to make and when you want to make them. So again, one of the things I hear a lot is our owner doesn't want to lose control. He likes being able to see the stack of checks or have control over what's being paid, which is great because with our tool, you're not going to lose that control. You are going to keep that in place, keep that in your accounting system. And then once you've made that selection and, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes here, created your check run and sent that back over to AvidXchange, we will execute on the payments on your behalf. Now, the big change here is really just going to be the output. So if you look on the screen, you see the little cloud on the left where everything's starting from the accounting system. And then the payment data is being processed through Create-A-Check and onto the AvidPay network. You'll also still always have the ability to print checks locally in-house if needed, so that's not going anywhere. And we can help you with some self-managed ACH files or wires if needed. But again, the big change here is instead of printing locally for every check, you're now going to have that additional option to send on to the AvidPay network for us to help execute on those payments. So I did include a screenshot here of the output engine from Create-A-Check. And this is actually what our end users would see. So that authorization box where you would input your credentials, and then you can see the little highlighted blue section where it says AvidPay Network. That's going to be the option to send the payment file directly to the AvidPay Network. And if you can see the tiny print, it's still going to allow you to send it to a printed output as well, but it will default to that AvidPay Network option. So super easy to authorize that file, defaults to the network, and then again, authenticate with your credentials as a security measure. So definitely a secure option for you and your end users to send that information over. So on this process slide, I think that this kind of widens the lens and gives us a full overview of what's happening with the AvidPay process. So let's start at that first bubble where it says accounting system generates payment. We've kind of already touched on that, but essentially, selecting the invoices in your accounting system in Sage and Acumatica that you're ready to make for payment, creating that check file and sending it over to the AvidPay network through Create-A-Check. You'll see that bubble that kind of drops down where it says AvidXchange Pay Control. And this is a really key component because this is going to kind of give your owners or check signers that comfort in still having a lot of control over the process. So we can actually set up a workflow on the payment side if needed. I would say probably about half customers use it, half don't. So it really depends on your setup. In construction, I do see it used more. So being able to set up a workflow for approval, and this would be sort of like a virtual check signer, so they can review and sign off on every payment before any money is moved. Once that approval is made, we're going to individually ACH debit each of the transactions from your operating accounts and move it into a money service business account where the funds sit for just about a day. And then at that point, they will be released in one of those 3 preferred payment methods we talked about, the virtual card, the direct deposit, or the paper check. And that's all based on supplier or vendor's choice. So that final bubble you see where it says client reconciliation, I like to point this out because, reconciliation will essentially be a breeze. Every transaction is going to be debited from your account on, that day you send the file over. And everything will clear your account from a general ledger perspective on that same day. And then I'll show you some reporting as well that you're able to pull to go hand in hand with that reconciliation piece. But in addition to that, your bank statement will also have the check number from your accounting system on it, corresponding to each individual transaction. So just a lot of information right at your fingertips to really enhance the visibility and the full end-to-end process of AvidPay. So I think we have another poll question here that will pop up on the screen. And that poll, we just kind of want to know, who's on the call today, how many supplier payments, vendor supplier payments does your organization typically make each month? So this is a monthly number. I know some people look at it more as like an annualized number, but if you can kind of quickly think how many payments you're making per month. And we have a couple ranges there, up to 200, 200 to 500, 501 to 750, and then 750 or more. And it's okay if you don't know too. So take a second there.
Michelle, can you see those results, or do you want me to read them to you?
I cannot see the results.
Okay. So we have about 57% of 0 to 200, 36% of 201 to 500, and 7% at 501 to 750.
Awesome. That's great. So we have a little bit of everyone, joining us today, which is great. And, I think the takeaway here is just that you're kind of in tune to how many payments you're making a month. And as you think about, how much time you're spending on some of these tasks that we've talked about, what are some of those tasks that you can really offload to help streamline this process? So I know Krista said we have, I think it was a majority of 57% was in that lower range, which is great. So I'm excited to show you the tool now. So I think we're going to switch gears. Let me get my portal pulled up. And so this is our AvidXchange login screen. I'm actually going to switch over to a simulated environment so that you can get a good idea of what the pay portal looks like. So what you're seeing on the screen now is the batches screen. This is just one payment batch that has been set up for payment. And what I mean by that is if I click on the batch, it's going to show me the 3 individual payments that are included in this batch. So a batch would be what's coming from your accounting system in that check run, ready to execute payment. This is great because you're going to get that full visibility into what bank account it's coming from, that check number from your accounting system, as well as the status. So being able to have that 24/7 visibility and knowing where that payment is in the process. You'll see that 2 of my payments are showing as cleared. And so when I click the additional drop down, I'm actually able to see the invoice information that corresponds to this payment, as well as a proof of payment document. So this one happened to go out as a AvidPay check. If I click on the proof of payment, it will show me front and back endorsed image of the check so that I have that for print or download. And we also send those proof of payments or store the proof of payments for the e-payments as well. So even though it goes out as a virtual card, you're still going to get that proof of payment information as far as when it was authorized and posted, and be able to have that visibility and record keeping. Now you'll see the portal super basic. You have the batches, the approvals, and manage workflows. You can set up permissions for all your end users, and we don't charge for user licenses, so you can have as many users set up as needed with limited or full access and capabilities. And if you do decide to set up the workflows on the payment side, you can easily manage those workflows in the portal as an admin and have the approvals ready to go so that a check signer can log in, see all the pertinent payment information, and choose to approve or hold that payment based on their criteria of what they're looking for. They also have that additional layer of information as well that correlates to the invoice number, invoice date, and description for this particular payment that they're looking at. Now, the great thing about this queue is since it is a SaaS-based platform, they're able to log in from anywhere as long as they have the internet. or Wi-Fi, so they can log in from a mobile device if they're in an airport or traveling, and be able to get a queue of their payments waiting their approval, and be able to approve them right then and there on any device, so there's no delay in the process. This has been really big, you know, a huge topic nowadays with people working from different areas, working at home. I know there's not as much travel going on, but just mostly being in different locations. This has been a hot topic and added a lot of value. The last thing I just want to preview real quick is the reporting, where you can filter down different selected criteria, date ranges, and perform searches right in the portal. Now remember, you'll still have your data in your accounting system, which remains the system of record, but just some easy reporting, kind of like a cleared check file. A lot of customers I've worked with have actually built this into their daily process, where they come in, pull the report, and they're able to see, you know, what's cleared from the day before for each of their payments. They're able to get an idea of which vendors are taking e-payments as opposed to checks, those types of pieces of information. So kind of easy to pull and easy to manipulate report. So let's kind of take a look back at a couple of points and takeaways from the tool. You know, we've been talking about visibility throughout. So being able to have that visibility into your payments, the pay control that we talked about for any check signers, if you need that in your process, having that electronic audit trail of where the payment is in the process, when it was sent out, and then keeping control in place. So not giving up full control of your AP department, just really finding those ways that, you know, you can streamline some of the business, which kind of takes me to the next bubble there, efficiency. So as I said, you know, streamline those different processes based on your particular organization and what your process looks like. I don't think I really talk to two businesses that have the same identical process, but being able to map out that process, what it looks like, and you know, how we can make it more efficient with the tool. And then I think the last two there kind of go hand in hand. I mean, they really all do, but those last two, time and labor and cost, really feed off of each other. So being able to allow accounting staff to focus on more strategic activities and not having to add additional headcount directly correlates to costs. You know, giving them time back in their days, time equals money. So giving them more time to spend on those strategic activities and not having to add on more headcount throughout the way. So let's talk about that implementation and onboarding process just a little bit. I know sometimes software implementations can be a little intimidating. I actually spent a couple of years on our onboarding team here at AvidXchange, so it's very near and dear to my heart. But I will say that, you know, implementing an automation tool like AvidXchange is not a complete overhaul of your accounting staff or your accounting department. This is really meant to be a tack on of your accounting system, not a takeover of the accounting system. So we want to learn about your process. We want to work with you as a resource, but we're going to configure and set up and test your portal alongside you know, your normal day-to-day job. So we've sort of mapped out 4 phases to our implementation. In the beginning, we're really going to learn and collect your data, have an interactive kickoff call. And then after that, we're able to move right into configuration and training. We build your portal, import all your data into the portal, and set up any workflows or permissions that need to be customized based on your process. And then from there, we look at a training plan, whether that's, you know, just training the admins or training end users. But this process really can be done in just a couple of weeks, and you can kind of get an idea of the hours as well from the screen here. And with that, even after you go live on the software, there's some really cool stuff happening within our organization and to kind of be a continued resource to you along the way. So I mentioned that go live training. So that's going to be delivered during your implementation and will be tailored to your team's needs. So like I said, whether you need to have one training or a couple for different end users, we'll make sure that's tailored to your needs. And then moving forward, having refresher trainings or, touch bases with your customer success manager on an ongoing basis is something that we see periodically as well. So to make sure that you're continuing to have value with our platform, we're going to make sure that we, provide those refreshers and educational webinars. So different series focus on best practices, how-to topics, things that we see that have worked really well. We'll make sure we deliver those as a partner for you. So with that, this is kind of recapping some of the things that we saw and discussed today. And usually I just kind of like to point out a couple of things. One being, having the ability to approve payments while you're not in the office, while you're somewhere else. Again, I know that travel isn't as prevalent today, but working from different places is. So the key to having a really efficient AP department is being able to access the information anywhere securely. So we want to always make sure that it's secure wherever you are, but that it's mobile and you can access it from anywhere. A lot of customers that have come to us during, the past 6 to 9 months have said, it wasn't the right time a few months ago, but now we don't really have another way to print checks. We need to have a automated virtual way to be able to send checks and send out payments. So that kind of goes in line. And then really just rethinking and embracing the whole technology and outsource payment system. So I know that it is a shift, especially when I work with construction companies. Sometimes they look at things, differently, and they have an old school process in place based on, an owner being there a long time, or, like we said with checks, it was the way because it was the only way. So same kind of thought process, but really trying to embrace that technology and the outsource payment systems, because they are really becoming a common business practice across the board with all different types of organizations. And then the final thought here is that, security is top of mind. It's paramount for all businesses, no matter the shape or size. So we want to make sure that we call that out, that it is important to us, and that we do value that as well. So, some of the things that we hear directly in line with security, we can obviously address on a one-to-one call, but just know that that is an important topic we're hearing. All right, so at this point, we've kind of talked about the different pieces of our agenda, the changes. We've looked at the tool and kind of a sneak peek into what it would look like to implement a tool like AvidXchange. So if you have any questions, please type them into the box. I'm not sure, have we gotten any yet that we can answer for some folks?
Yeah, I have a couple here ready to go. And if you do have questions, type them now, and we'll get to them after. First question is, can I send all my vendor payments through AvidXchange Pay?
Yeah, great question. So yes, our goal is to accommodate all of your vendor payments. Now there are some times with that, I'll say, sometimes that you will want to keep payments in-house. And like I mentioned earlier, you'll always have the ability to print checks in-house. And what we do with all of our customers is kind of break down all of your payment types to see if there are any that you would want to remain in-house. But for the most part, the purpose is to accommodate 100% of your business-to-business payments.
Okay, next question is, do our vendors get a detailed list of invoices paid?
Yeah, another good question. So vendors will receive rich remittance detail, and let them know what has been paid within that payment. So if there are, 3 or 4 invoices included in that payment, they will receive that information as rich remittance. And then we can also contact them, or they can contact us directly if they want to get like a previous payment history. We can give them that as well. And that's one of the pieces of our services department that's really going to come into play here.
Okay, next question is, what if we need specific workflows set up with different rules based on payment type? Is that possible?
Different workflows based on payment type. So we can set up different workflows for different scenarios. Payment type is not an option for workflow logic in our current portal. So we're going to be able to route payments based on a couple of other different criteria. But remember, the payment type is not being determined until after you send us the payment. So it's a single file transmission where you create the check run, send it over to AvidXchange, then we reach out to the vendors and ask them how they want to be paid. So you don't have to worry about separating it out or how the vendors want to be paid. That's not determined until after you send us the file.
Okay, one more question. What is the fee structure for Avid? Is this a monthly fee based on volume process?
Yes, so yeah, it is billed monthly, and it's a transactional pricing model. So you pay for what you use basically, and it's 89 cents per payment. And, we can definitely dive in on a deeper level to any other fee type related questions on a one-to-one basis, but it is transaction based and it is 89 cents per payment, no matter the payment type.
All right, great. I think that's all the questions we have for now.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time today. And I think there might be one more poll question. We're going to put poll number 3 up. Where would you like to go from here? So you can contact us to set up a demo, custom for your organization. Maybe you just want to receive some more information, or I'm just here to lunch and learn. Thank you guys so much.
All right, great. Thank you everyone for attending. We will send out the recording to you later today. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you everyone. Enjoy.